Welcome to the deep dive. We're really thrilled to have you with us today because we have a mission that feels honestly like it's been pulled straight out of a Hollywood science fiction script.
It really does.
Yeah. Today we are unpacking the breathtaking and, well, sometimes terrifying acceleration of artificial intelligence and drone swarms in modern warfare.
Right. And it sounds like sci-fi, but as we're going to explore today, this isn't some speculative future. I mean, this is happening right now.
Exactly.
Today is March 4, 2026, and Operation Epic Fury is currently unfolding. And what makes this specific moment so incredibly historic is that it marks the very first time AI is practically running the strategic kill chain at scale on a live battlefield.
And to make sense of how we got here and, where we're going, we are synthesizing a massive stack of sources for you today.
It's a lot of material.
It is. We've got official Pentagon strategy memos, specifically DoD Directive 3000.09. We're pulling deep tactical analysis from the Center for New American Security, or CNAS. We're diving into the ethical frameworks established by the International Committee of the Red Cross. And we are cross-referencing all of that with breaking on-the-ground reporting from the Wall Street Journal, NDTV, and the Jerusalem Post.
And if you're sitting there right now wondering why you should care about military strategy or algorithmic targeting, it is because warfare is fundamentally changing its underlying physics.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
We are watching a real-time shift from a human speed endeavor to a machine speed endeavor. Understanding this shift is absolutely crucial for you. I mean, it dictates the future of global security, the trajectory of commercial technology, and ultimately it forces us to answer really deep questions about the limits of human cognition.
Okay, let's unpack this. To set the scene, we need to look at the current U.S.-Iran conflict. In the U.S., it's known as Operation Epic Fury, and in Israel, it's referred to as Operation Roaring Lion.
Right.
We know AI is involved, but how exactly is it being used? Is this just about making missiles, slightly more accurate?
Oh, it goes way beyond that. The reporting from NDTV and the Jerusalem Post indicates that AI wasn't just used to guide weapons, it was used as the strategic brain before the airstrikes even happened.
Wait, before they happened?
Yes. We are talking about Anthropic's Claude AI being integrated directly with Palantir's Gotham system.
I've heard of Palantir being used for data mapping, but how does pairing it with a generative AI like Claude actually change the equation?
So Palantir's Gotham provides the raw data infrastructure. It pulls in satellite imagery, troop movements, logistics.
Okay.
But when you plug Claude into that, you give the system the ability to synthesize and reason. Reports indicate this combined system ingested tens of thousands of intercepted Persian documents, communications from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and even complex emergency evacuation routes.
That's a massive amount of data.
It is, and it processed all of this raw, chaotic intelligence in a matter of minutes. That's something that would take a human intelligence team weeks or maybe months to decipher.
Hold on, so it isn't just reacting to incoming threats. It's actively reading documents and formulating a battle plan.
Precisely. The AI simulated tens of thousands of attack scenarios to find the absolute optimal strike order.
Wow.
It was generating output for commanders saying things like, Scenario A is the mathematical best way to minimize civilian casualties. Or, the optimal time to target this specific leadership compound with the highest probability of success is exactly 10 a.m., based on shift changes and traffic patterns.
That's incredibly specific.
Yeah, it's acting as a hyper-intelligent, tireless military advisor.
But wasn't there a massive political controversy surrounding Anthropic just recently? I remember seeing headlines about a federal ban. How is their technology running a live military operation right now?
What's fascinating here is the intense political and ethical friction happening behind the scenes. This massive deployment of Anthropic's technology happened mere hours after President Trump ordered a federal ban on it.
Just hours.
Just hours. Anthropic had actually been pushing back hard against the Pentagon's demands. They wanted to maintain safeguards against autonomous weapons and mass surveillance within their models.
Right, their whole alignment strategy.
Exactly. They were arguing the tech simply wasn't safe or mature enough to have those guardrails removed.
So the creators of the AI are saying, please don't use this for autonomous war. The president issues a ban. But it gets deployed in Operation Epic Fury anyway. How does that happen?
The Pentagon, which operates its functional arm under the name of the Department of War, or DOW, essentially threatened to label Anthropic a supply chain risk if they didn't comply.
A supply chain risk. Wow.
And as for the federal ban itself, Commanders in the theater of war reported that the AI was already too deeply embedded in mission-critical workflows to pull the plug. If they turned off the AI, their entire operational capability would basically go dark.
That is wild. They literally couldn't fight the war without the algorithm.
Exactly. It really highlights the tension between technological utility and civilian oversight. The Dow has fully embraced this AI-first directive. They've rolled out a platform called GenAI.mil, which brings these powerful generative models directly into classified networks.
And that's part of Project Maven, right?
Yes, we are looking at a deep integration through programs like Project Maven, where AI is woven into the core decision loops. Humans are no longer analyzing the raw data to make a plan. The machines make the optimized plan, and the humans are essentially just reviewing and approving it.
So we have this hyper-intelligent software brain making the strategic calls in the background. But software can't physically strike a target. How exactly are these optimized plans making their way onto the actual physical battlefield?
That brings us to the hardware, and the evolution of the drone has been staggering. We really need to discard the old image of a single remote-controlled Predator drone being flown with a joystick by a pilot sitting in a trailer in Nevada.
Right, that's old news.
Very old news. Today we are talking about swarms. NDTV confirmed the U.S. deployment of what are called LUCS. That stands for Low-Cost Unmanned Combat Attack Systems. These are one-way attack drones, which are ironically modeled heavily after Iran's own Shahed drones.
When you say swarms, how are they actually navigating? If you have dozens or hundreds of these things in the air, who is flying them?
Nobody is flying them. That is where the true autonomy comes into play. The reporting notes the use of Shield AI's HiveMind working alongside Endural AI's Lattice system.
Okay, so software running the drones.
Yes, HiveMind is a software platform that allows these drones to fly entirely autonomously. They can make complex navigational decisions without getting lost, even if their GPS is jammed by the enemy or if their communication networks are completely cut off.
Hold on, if they are cut off from GPS and they can't talk back to base, how do they coordinate a strike?
They use localized mesh networks and optical sensors to talk to each other. Think of it like a flock of starlings.
Oh, those massive clouds of birds you see moving together.
Exactly, those mesmerizing clouds moving in perfect unison in the sky. There is no leader bird giving orders. Each bird is following a set of decentralized rules based on the bird next to it. HiveMind does exactly that for drones.
That's incredible.
And then, once they get close to the target, the Lattice system takes over, giving them specialized AI-driven target identification.
So it's completely decentralized. You can't just cut the head off the snake because there is no head.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes clear this is not just an America versus Iran story. The race for this kind of swarm intelligence is entirely global. Take a look at China.
What are they doing?
At the recent Zhuhai Air Show, they unveiled a platform called the Zhutian. It is a 10-ton drone mothership.
A 10-ton mothership. That sounds like an airborne aircraft carrier.
That's essentially what it is. It's larger than the U.S. MQ-9 Reaper, and it's designed to fly at 560 miles per hour while dropping swarms of smaller autonomous drones mid-flight.
Unbelievable.
And Europe is right there, too, developing programs like Katui-2 in Germany, which focuses on integrating AI-driven swarm behaviors, specifically under GPS-deprived conditions. Every major military power is racing toward the exact same goal here: cheap, expendable, autonomous mass.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We've talked about the offense, but what happens when you're on the receiving end? Let's look at the defensive dilemma, because countering a swarm seems like a brutal math problem.
It is an accountant's worst nightmare. The cost asymmetry is absolutely staggering. According to the Defense Security Monitor, you have situations where advanced militaries are firing an IRIS-T missile, which costs roughly $450,000, to shoot down a single incoming Shahed drone that costs maybe $20,000 to build.
You don't even need to defeat a military tactically if you can just bankrupt them with cheap drones. You would run out of money in missiles long before the enemy runs out of plastic airplanes.
Precisely. We saw this exact scenario play out, with multi-million-dollar naval interceptors being fired from U.S. destroyers like the USS Carney in the Red Sea to stop cheap propeller-driven drones. The math simply does not favor traditional defense.
Right.
But it's not just a money problem, it's a cognitive problem. The CNAS report detailed the tragic reality of human error in these incredibly high-speed, high-stress scenarios.
I read in that CNAS report that human error was a massive factor in the Tower 22 base attack in Jordan. What exactly went wrong there?
It was a tragic chain of events driven by the limits of human cognition and outdated technology. You had a hostile Iranian-made Shahed 101 drone approaching the base. Put yourself in the shoes of the human operators at the Base Defense Operations Center. They misidentified the incoming threat, thinking it was a returning friendly U.S. surveillance drone.
But how does a mistake like that happen with billions of dollars of military tech at their disposal?
Because of the interface they were forced to use, they were relying on 1990s-era radar software. Imagine trying to use a clunky legacy computer program where you have to navigate up to 14 different drop-down menus and clicks just to authorize firing an interceptor.
14 clicks.
Yes. Now imagine trying to do that while a drone is closing in on your position at over 100 miles per hour. Human reaction time, bogged down by outdated user interfaces, is simply no longer fast enough. That brief delay in processing the information resulted in fatal casualties.
That is heartbreaking. It sounds like human cognition is no longer the asset in war. It has actually become the bottleneck. So how are militaries trying to solve this?
By taking the human out of the loop entirely. Reports from AI LiveSim and CNAS describe the rapid deployment of AI multi-sensor fusion networks. These defense systems combine radar, radio frequency signals, and optical tracking into one unified brain. They can process over 1,000 unique threat signatures per second.
Over 1,000 per second. The CNAS report noted that these AI systems achieve 95% accuracy to filter out, as they vividly put it, seagulls from cruise missiles.
Exactly.
It cross-verifies everything instantly. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't get confused by 14 drop-down menus, and it doesn't panic.
And it enables what military strategists call the 3-second window. In modern swarm defense, the AI system has to detect the threat, decide if it's hostile, and trigger the neutralization in under 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Yes. And to solve that cost asymmetry problem we talked about earlier, the $450,000 missile, they aren't just firing traditional weapons anymore, they are turning to directed energy.
Yes, I was reading about systems like LMADIS. For the listener, what exactly is that?
The LMADIS stands for Light Marine Air Defense Integrated System. Picture it less like a gun firing bullets and more like an invisible, high-powered microwave cannon.
Okay.
Instead of trying to shoot down 50 individual drones with 50 expensive missiles, an HPM or high-power microwave system projects a massive electromagnetic field. It instantly fries the internal electron circuits of an entire drone swarm all at once, causing them to simply drop out of the sky.
That completely flips the traditional model. It essentially has an infinite magazine as long as you have a diesel generator to provide electricity.
Exactly. It solves the math problem, and the AI sensor fusion solves the speed problem.
So what does this all mean? The technology is clearly incredible from an engineering standpoint, but with machines moving this fast, where does human morality fit in? Are we crossing a moral threshold by handing the kill chain over to algorithms? The International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, has published extensive ethical frameworks on exactly this question.
It is one of the most fiercely debated topics in international law today. Let's look at the competing arguments objectively. We can start with the pro-AI argument, which is essentially a consequentialist view. This perspective argues that we should judge the morality of an action strictly by its result.
Meaning, if the outcome is better, the method is justified.
Yes. Proponents argue that an AI processes data infinitely better than a human. It never panics, it never acts out of anger or seeks revenge, and as we saw with the Epic Fury simulations, it can run tens of thousands of models to specifically find the strike option that minimizes civilian casualties.
Right.
So, theoretically, deploying an AI could actually be more humane because its precision drastically reduces collateral damage compared to a stressed, sleep-deprived 19-year-old soldier making a split-second mistake.
I can see the logic there. If the ultimate goal is fewer innocent people dying, and the machine achieves that better than a human, then you could argue the machine is the moral choice. But the ICRC also presents a very strong anti-AI argument, which takes a deontological view.
Right. Deontology looks at the inherent morality of the action itself, regardless of the outcome. And this relies heavily on a foundational concept in international law called the Martin's Clause. This clause dictates that war must be governed by the public conscience and principles of humanity.
And handing the keys over to an algorithm violates that.
According to this view, yes. The core argument is about human dignity. Ceding life and death decisions to zeros and ones strips humans of their inherent dignity. It treats human beings as mere data points to be optimized. The ICRC report points out that this creates a massive responsibility gap.
For responsibility gain.
Yes, if a human lays a traditional landmine, they have somewhat delegated the killing. But it's a dumb, static machine. With AI, you have an autonomous system making active, real-time choices. But you can't put a line of code on trial in The Hague for war crimes.
That leads right into the dangers of the black box that the source material mentions. A lot of these advanced AI targeting systems rely on deep machine learning. If an algorithm learns and changes its own parameters after it is deployed in the field, it becomes inherently unpredictable.
Absolutely.
Even the software engineers who built it might not know exactly why the AI chose to strike a specific target at a specific moment.
And then you introduce the psychological element of what the ICRC calls automation bias. This is where human operators begin to blindly trust the machine because of a subconscious belief that the computer is always mathematically correct. The machine highlights a target, and the human hits authorize without genuinely double-checking the underlying data.
It creates a moral buffer for the operator. The human shifts the psychological guilt of killing onto the software. They can tell themselves, I didn't make the call, the AI did. Which brings us to a major conflict in actual military policy. We mentioned DoD Directive 3000.09 earlier. It formally requires that autonomous weapons must be designed to allow commanders to exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over the use of force.
But consider that phrasing against everything we've just discussed. Appropriate levels of human judgment.
That's exactly the paradox. We just established that against an incoming drone swarm, the engagement window from detection to neutralization is 3 seconds. So you have to ask yourself how much genuine human judgment can actually happen in a 3-second window.
Not much at all.
Right. If you are an operator staring at a screen watching 200 incoming threat signatures and the AI flashes a warning that says neutralize now or the base is destroyed, you aren't analyzing or judging anything. You are simply acting as a biological rubber stamp for the algorithm.
And that is the exact friction point we are currently living in. The speed of the technology has completely outpaced the biological capacity of human cognition. Militaries want humans in control to satisfy ethical and legal frameworks, but keeping humans in control is rapidly becoming a lethal military liability.
To wrap this all up, the main takeaway for you today is that the leap from the theoretical computer lab to the live, chaotic battlefield has officially happened. Operation Epic Fury is the definitive proof. The speed of combat, the terrifying economics of swarm defense, and the fundamental ethics of how we wage war have been permanently altered. We are no longer waiting for the era of algorithmic decision-making and autonomous swarms. We are living inside it.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder, something that builds on everything we've discussed about the sheer speed and autonomy of these new systems. We are rapidly approaching an era where AI-driven offensive swarms will coordinate and attack at speeds that human minds simply cannot process.
Yeah.
This will invariably force our defense networks to respond entirely autonomously without any human input at all, just so we can survive the initial strike. So ask yourself this. When both the attack and the defense are fully controlled by algorithms fighting each other in milliseconds, do humans even fight wars anymore? Or do we simply become fragile bystanders, trapped in the crossfire of warring machines?
What an incredibly chilling thought to end on. Thank you for joining us as we unpack this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.